Welcome back to Study Sesh, everyone. I'm Camilla. Today we are looking at the dynamic world of digital marketing. So let's say we're heading into winter, right? And you're on the hunt for a new jacket because it's going to get cold. It's got to be the perfect jacket. Where do you start? For most of us, the answer these days is not a physical shop anymore. We start online. And we may have started before we even realize that we have. Maybe you've seen a jacket you love on Instagram or on TikTok, exactly what you want. And like there's a discount code in the caption. So you take note of the discount code. Maybe you decide to do a bit of research and you look for a jacket online. Maybe you do a Google search, yeah? And in the result, maybe you find a link to an online shop and hey presto, the jacket is on sale on that link. It turns out the shop even delivers in your area maybe. What a coincidence, right? Or is it? You know, in every step of this journey to find the perfect jacket, digital marketing is actually playing a pivotal role. From initial inspiration on social media to final purchase on a mobile optimized website, digital marketing strategies make the process intuitive, they make it enjoyable, and at the end of the day, they make it satisfying. And so today, what we're going to do is break down what are called the 5 Ds of digital marketing, these crucial pillars that shape how businesses and brands connect with their clients and customers in this very digital age of ours. So if you're wanting info and inspo for your marketing studies, or maybe you're just curious about how brands catch your eye online, stick around because today we're talking to Abednico, who's going to be taking us through the 5 Ds of digital marketing. Great to have you along for the ride, Abednico. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, the 5 Ds are really quite simple, and I want to list them up front, Abednico, before we get into the discussion, just so that everyone knows what the 5 Ds are. Then we're going to go through them. Number 1 is digital devices, everyone. Then we've got digital platforms, digital media, digital data, and digital technology. So let's go through each of them to understand what they are, what they're about, and why they matter. So first up in our 5 Ds is digital devices. Abednico, talk to me a bit about digital devices. What are we talking about when we say it, and why are they so important to keep in mind?
Okay, before I look at the devices, I just want to give a context of digital marketing. So as you know, generally speaking, digital marketing is the promotion of a brand and its product on digital platforms. So it encompasses a wide range of online marketing tactics, strategies aimed at reaching target audiences, engaging with them, and driving desired action or outcomes. So the word that you need to take note of there is engagement. So how do you engage? In order to engage, you need device. Okay, so that's where we take the digital device as one of the Ds that you need in order to manage a digital marketing interaction, because for brands to interact with audience, you need a digital device on both ends. But considering that you're in South Africa and not everyone can afford a smartphone or a digital device, it can be a challenge for brands to reach out or to engage with audiences. So that's why a device is crucial when it comes to the interaction with brands.
Because it's really all about reaching people where they are, isn't it? And as you say, that could be on their phones, their tablets, their laptops. One of the really important things is, if you are trying to reach people on digital devices, making sure that content looks good on any screen, right?
Yes, that's correct. So you need to make sure that there's compatibility, and most brands are doing that very well, because the screen size of a smartphone and the screen size of a tablet, as well as the screen size of a laptop, can differ. So how do you optimize your content so that it suits the screen size of that specific device? Because if it does not do that, it becomes very difficult to impeach all the digital marketing process and making sure that the engagement or the interaction with customers is successful.
So let's move on to the next D, Abednico, and that's digital platforms.
Yes.
And here we're talking anything from gorgeous photos on Instagram to X, now used to be Twitter, and the rapid fire updates there. Each platform really offers a unique way to tell a story. Talk to us about what the big platforms are, first of all, and then how we can use them properly.
Yes, so platforms are, in just layman's term, they are softwares or programs that are available on the device. So you'd realize that in order to have a successful interaction or engagement with audiences, you need a device, something that we've discussed already, but you also need a platform on that device. So if you've got a smartphone and it does not have X, it does not have TikTok, it does not have WhatsApp, it does not have YouTube, it is an incomplete communication. So you need those platforms so that you can engage with audiences. And the good thing about platforms is that most of them are now also being optimized for e-commerce. So it means that users can also, rather than just engage with brands, they can also transact using those platforms.
And Abednico, what would you say are the biggest challenges that marketers face when it comes to using these digital platforms?
The biggest challenge is metrics. So how do you generate reports? You'd realize that some of the features or the plugins are there on the platforms. Like on Facebook, you can have features that can show you like how many people have you engaged with, how many actually went through the transactions. But there are also some plugins that are more complex, especially the more you want to measure the return on investment on your campaign, the more you would need reporting tools that are more complex, will give you more insights in how the campaign is performing, especially when it comes to social media, of course, because social media platforms, they are also digital platforms.
Okay, so let's move on to our third D, because so far, we've got a device that you need, right? And then layered on top of that, you've got a platform that you interact with people on that device. And then, of course, we have to move on to content. And that's where the third D comes in, and that's digital media. This is where creativity meets technology. So here, I think we're talking things like videos, blogs, memes. If it can convey a message, you can think about using it, right? Especially when it comes to digital media.
Yes, that's correct. And digital media is quite crucial because we live in an attention economy. There's so much information on the internet, on digital platforms that is available, but which one is more eye-catching that would actually attract the audience to engage with a certain brand? So you can have multimedia content in form of text, in form of videos, still image or memes, hashtags, and so on. So the way you tailor your content, the way you optimize your content, having some creativity elements will actually, attract users, customers to engage with you on social media platforms. So that content is actually displayed on digital platforms that we mentioned in the previous D.
And I mean, Abednico, is it fair to say that it's important for marketers to understand the strengths of each of these mediums in terms of where a video is going to work best, where photos might work better, where text is actually important? Is it really important to double down on the strengths of those mediums and really understand them?
Yeah, it is very important, especially when you look at the segment of AMA 2000, as they call themselves. Those who were born after 2000, they call themselves AMA 2000. They know which content speaks to them. So you need to understand the platform or the channel that you are choosing. Like, is it TikTok? Is it a Facebook Reel? Or is it YouTube? So you need to understand also how the text, or what I would call the caption of that content, is going to sort of like entice them to engage with you, because the ultimate goal here is engagement.
Yeah, engagement is so crucial. And if your content's not engaging, then no one's going to care that you're on a platform or reaching them on their device. So now let's tackle D number 4. That's digital data. And data can often feel like a double-edged sword, right? There's so much information out there that it's easy to feel overwhelmed these days. It's almost like we have to be a detective, piecing together clues to solve the mystery of what an audience really wants. So, Abednico, how do marketers make sure they're collecting the right data, first of all, and then using it properly?
Yeah, so data, I've heard on many platforms that data is actually the most heartbeat or the digital asset for most brands, because it speaks to who you talk to, who you engage with. So if you do not have, tailored customer insights, it becomes very difficult for you to understand the consumers that you are engaging with. What is it that they want? Where are they based? What are their spending habits? And so on.
And how do we use data to potentially guide our strategy as marketers?
So data touches on everything, especially when you look at the product market metrics. So the type of the data that you have, the quality of the data that you have, will determine your product development. It is also going to determine your market development. Like, how do you penetrate the market? You need to understand the consumers before you push the product into the market. So that's how crucial data is. And when you also talk about data, it's not only about the customer insights that you are getting from them. We also talk about data in terms of brand width. Okay, think about affordability. Like, people have got devices, but we also have what we call the digital divide in South Africa, where not everyone can afford to have a device, and not everyone can afford to have data. The data that I'm talking about now is your bangles or your internet access. So as much as we have data in terms of customer information, how many of those customers do have access to the internet so that they can engage with you?
Yeah, and it's such an important point to remember. Otherwise, you're cutting out a huge segment of your potential audience and your potential customer base. So, Abednico, last but definitely not least, let's move on to D number 5. That's digital technology. Now, I want you to think about this almost like the engine that powers your digital marketing car. Yeah, anything from very cool website interfaces to the engines that will analyze the data that we are speaking about. Decisions around tech can really drive the success or failure of a digital marketing campaign. So, Abednico, how easy is it to choose the right technology for your business?
I just like the way you put it, that it is the engine. But other than being the engine, I can also say that it is the oil, the one that makes sure that the engine is well lubricated. Because if you can realize that technology is just moving at a very rapid pace. Like, the pace at which we have in technology, it's very crucial. And as marketers, the more you are abreast with technology, the more you have got a competitive advantage. So technology touches on the 4Ds that we have already explained. In terms of devices, we see more devices are becoming advanced in terms of technology. Then in terms of a digital platform, we see that platforms are also advanced. They've got now more features in terms of technology. Facebook, we didn't have blue ticks, TikTok, and that's technology. And then when it comes to digital media as well, you would see that the way content is now being optimized, it's also technology. Then the last one that we spoke about, which is data. The way you get customer information is out there. It's also based on technology. So you realize that the other 4Ds that we discussed, without technology on them, your digital marketing is actually a failure.
Absolutely. So there you have it, folks. These are the 5 Ds of digital marketing, these crucial pillars that we build our campaigns on. Now, understanding all of this theoretically is one thing, right? But what about applying it, Abednico? That's where the real challenge lies, right? Do you have any real-world examples of how a brand has successfully used all 5 Ds for a campaign that was just epic?
Normally, I don't like using successful brands because it's difficult to learn from. We normally learn from failures. So I'd rather look at brands that actually failed to make their campaigning by looking at the 5 Ds of managing digital marketing interactions. As we discussed, the 5 Ds are for interaction. So how do you make digital marketing a success? So there was a certain campaign for a girl child. A campaign was to support a disadvantaged girl child who do not have access to sanitation. I'm talking about sanitary pads here. But when they embarked on that campaign, they did not look at the 5D standard, because already they say that the target audience here is a disadvantaged girl child. So it's someone who's based in remote areas, someone who's based in rural areas who cannot afford to have sanitation so that she can be able to go to school, because most of them, they skip school when it is that time of the month. So what happens is that if you look at the first D, which is device, you need to ask yourself, do they have access to those devices? Like, how are we going to reach out to them? They need devices on their end so that they can get access to this communication. Then what about the digital platform? And banks are doing this more accurate, because some of the digital platforms, it is also difficult to access them. So you see that banks have got dataless, access. You can access your bank without having airtime or Wi-Fi connection. As long as your mobile data is on, you can be able to log in your bank and process transactions. So that's having a sort of like a free access to a digital platform that banks are having. So that's one of the things that we're supposed to look at when engaging with these with girls in rural areas. Then when you look at the digital media, which is the third D, you also need to look at the content that speaks to that generation. So you cannot generalize. A female, you have got different segments when it comes to female, but you are talking about a girl child. So it means that it's content that is tailored for a girl child. And you also need to understand the pastel, political, economic, social, like all the macro-environmental factors that influence them. What is their language? If we post this content on TikTok, are they going to engage with this campaign because you are speaking to their language? The language, I'm not talking about, the syntax and the sentence that they use, but what is it that actually hit their hearts for them to understand that we are getting sanitation and stuff like that. So the digital data, what information do we have about them since they are in rural areas? Is it only about sanitation, or are there other things that influence their consumption of sanitation? So you need more demographic and psychographic data based on those girls. So you're not just going to communicate to someone you don't know about. You need to know about them, have information about them, have enough data about them in order to engage with them. Then in terms of technology, which is the last 5D, you need to understand the pace of technology from their side, not from your side as a brand. So what is it that they are familiar with in terms of innovation, in terms of invention of things that are out there? Because we realize that most of the millennials or the AMA 2000, in most cases, they are actually ahead of brands. So you need to understand what technologies are they aware of in terms of devices. Do they have iPhones or mobile cells? Because that's technology on its own. In terms of digital platforms, are they using WhatsApp? Are they using TikTok? And in terms of TikTok, is it TikTok Lite or is the normal TikTok? You also need to understand the digital media that they consume. Remember, we have got high resolution content that can be difficult to access using internet. It takes time to download. So it means that you need to have better technology to have videos that are optimized for different devices so that it is not inconvenient for the target audience, which is a girl child. Then in terms of data, you also need to make sure that you've got advanced analytics, you've got advanced data collection tools that you can use to get information on them. So that's what I can say when it comes to technology.
Big thanks to you, Abednico, for guiding us through these 5Ds. I think it's so important to keep the target audience at the center of everything you do. And that example was fabulous in terms of how we need to adopt that kind of audience-centric thinking as digital marketers, but also as anyone in commerce and in business and in communications. We've got to put our clients and customers first. So thank you so much, Abednico. This has been fascinating. Remember, everyone, if you're feeling unsure, if you're feeling swamped by data, maybe just start small. Focus on what matters. If you're unsure about the technology, try one tool at a time. Don't be afraid to experiment. Remember that digital marketing is about learning by doing. So play around, measure your results, and learn as you go. Abednico, thanks so much again for today. And everyone, will see you soon on Study Sesh.